I mean, you want to know how an artist breaks through? Girls just want to have fun. Time after time, she bop all through the night, and Money Changes Everything were on the same album. In the middle, I guess we're in the tail end of an ice storm here in New York City. I don't know if I could figure out, maybe I'll cut in another shot to show you how that's working, what's going down. Imagine that we could lose power here, but this isn't the suburbs. It'll be different. Anyway, continuing this little soap opera, I've got notes, I've got some ideas on what I can talk about, some ideas on topics, and to start off, I think I've mentioned before, I tend to listen to music, and then if something catches my eye or ear, I will choose to go down the rabbit hole of trying to find out, who did the record, who wrote it, produced it, played on it, and all that stuff. Somehow I bumped into Cyndi Lauper the other night. I can't remember exactly why. Oh, I saw a video of All Through the Night, which I guess was probably one of her last hits. And it wasn't on the first album. I'm going to check my little Wikipedia stuff here. But anyway, I went back to She's So Unusual, which was her debut album. And, I was too young at that time in the game as far as to really know what was going down with that album and how it was put together. I know that there were some guys from Philly that were involved, and I can't remember the name of the band that they were in, the Hooters. Anyway, I mean, you want to know how an artist breaks through? Girls just want to have fun. Time after time, she bop all through the night, and Money Changes Everything were on the same album. That's 5 out of, I don't know, 10 songs I guess she had on here. And then obviously she had some huge success because of MTV and the Goonies movie, which was a movie I've never seen. I don't know what the hell it's about. But listen to some of the people that were on this record. Cyndi Lauper, Rob Hyman. He's like the keyboard player from the Hooters, who went on to have a bunch of hits themselves. And I guess this was their little project. And Eric Bazillion, who's like this multi-instrumentalist guy from the Hooters. Rick DeFonso on guitar, William Whitman, guitars and arrangement and production, Rick Chertoff producing. John Aniello was the assistant engineer. I think he went on to become an engineer in his own right. Anton Fig playing drums. He was from Saturday Night Live. He was a very serious New York session drummer at the time. Neil Jason, guitars and bass. I've seen Neil Jason's name everywhere. Jules Shear doing background vocals. Pretty famous songwriter. You know your album is serious when Annie Leibovitz does your photography. So you want to know why your project is a disaster and something like this is legendary? Just look at the credits. Just look at who's involved, what people were on this project. And then you could do what I do, which I like to do, is you go to the next album and you see who was involved. And in her case, of course, because she had this huge smash, the next album had even more people. The second album was True Colors. Obviously, massive song. She didn't have quite the amount of hits on this one. She had, it was a #1 record, of course. Oh, #4. This is what happens when you get to your second record and you have a huge budget and you've had massive hits. You get Jeff Bova playing keyboards, very famous guy from the Meatloaf records, especially the last one and second to last one, and a slew of other things. He was like a legendary New York session keyboard player. I worked with him on a bunch of crazy projects, and one of the nicest guys. She had Nile Rodgers play guitar a little bit. Rick Derringer play guitar. Adrian Belew play guitar. Jimmy Bralauer and Anton Fig did some drums. The Bangles did background vocals. Billy Joel did background vocals. Amy Mann did background vocals. And Pee Wee Herman was a guest operator. I don't know what that was all about. Engineering. I do know Jason Corsaro was an additional mixer. He was a big-time 80s recording engineer and mixer. Annie Leibovitz, once again, cover photography. So they didn't skimp yet on the photography and things like that. I mean, it's just, to me, this is, if you're in the game and if you're a record freak or a recording crazy person like myself, Wikipedia is like literally it's like you're being allowed to tear open an album, look at all the liner notes, and then put it back on the shelf. Great stuff. You can learn a lot. You can also get some perspective on what it takes to make a big record. As you go down the line with hers, she's gone on to other big things like the Kinky Boots stuff and all that. But her records, slowly but surely, as the budget died off and the demand died off, she just kept cutting back on who was going to be involved. And you know, it usually doesn't work. You start using the B team, the C team, and the D team, and less quality contributors to your project, and you will then have shit. And then you will be wondering what happened. Why can't I capture what I had back then? I mean, something must be up that she never went back and worked with Eric Bazillion and Rob Hyman and tried to get back on the horse. I mean, I know they went on to their own careers with the Hooters and several other things. But there was the magic. The magic was there at that time, and it's gone. It left the building. So another thing I wanted to talk about was I saw a little quick clip of Jodeci, and this is one of those things where I worked with Jodeci, I don't know, 50 times in the early to mid 90s. They were Led Zeppelin at that point in New York, or in the R&B world. They were the crew. They came with an entourage. They were 4 members, and then add an entourage onto each one, and it was crazy town. And these sessions were legendary at the Hit Factory. At some point, they had spent $900,000 in studio time making Diary of a Mad Band. Just think about that. $900,000 in studio time at one studio. They were wild. They were a big deal. The album shipped triple platinum. So even with those kind of crazy numbers of spending money, when you ship triple platinum and sell triple platinum, the label is pretty good with it, because at the time a CD, let's just say, was $12 a pop. You just generated $36 million real quick. That million was not a big deal in the making of the record and making of the Diary of a Mad Band. But Jodeci was while they were very exhausting to be around, and they could test your nerves, Jodeci, how can I put it? Jodeci loved them some Jodeci. And this was kind of a common thing in hip hop and R&B that I found is kind of somewhat missing today when I'm around artists. Jodeci would come in, first of all, sing before the door even opened. You heard singing. The guys were just constantly singing. JoJo and KC in particular, they were the actual singers. Devontae was the beat maker. Dalvin was Devontae's brother, and KC and JoJo were the singers, and they're brothers also. So those two guys would be constantly singing, and Devontae was just into hearing his beat and making a beat and listening to his beat over and over again and vibing in the studio with his beat. And those dudes were into singing a lot, and they loved hearing themselves sing. They loved singing and harmonizing and trying to blow each other's minds with like, oh, watch this, I'm going to go in and add it. I got a note, I'm going to go add it to this harmony. It was refreshing to be around because of the passion that they had and the enthusiasm they had for their projects. I mean, quite honestly, I don't see that a lot now. I don't see artists coming into the studio. It started to fade, I mean, a lot longer ago than just recently. It was a very common thing in the competitive, super hard driving 90s and early 2000s, where artists would come in excited to hear their own music. They would come in excited to play back what they did yesterday or the previous night and vibe out with it and be like, yeah, you know, I'm bringing it, you know. And then there were times where they would be critical of themselves and say, uh-oh, I got to redo some of that stuff, and let's do that. Let's work on that right away. I might be good for today. That's 12 minutes. Can we get the ice storm?